Hey, Rick, what'd you eat last night?
A mushroom forest.
Wow, that's a lot of mushrooms.
And boy, was I tired. A friend and I went out to dinner, and we actually went to Kith Kin, where you and I had gone when you were in D.C. Yeah, so Kith Kin is this really great restaurant by the chef's name, Kate.
Oh my God, did you have that crudité plate?
No, I didn't.
Did you have the lentils?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God. Okay,
Next
continue.
time. What was the chef name? Is Kwame?
Kwame, I can't remember his last name.
So this looked so good. So what it was a mushroom on the plate was a mushroom spread of various roasted mushrooms. They're really finely chopped. And then that was topped with enoki mushrooms. And those are those small, shiny mushrooms that have the tiny white caps on really long stems. So it looked really beautiful. And it was served with a charred eggplant dip, which was really tasty. And on next to the plate, it was you got these crispy Emsons, which is
what now?
Yeah, you're right. I actually looked up how to pronounce this word. It's called an Emson, and it's a Moroccan flatbread. And the way they make it's made with butter, salt, water, flour, and it's light and it's flaky and it's crispy. And then they dribble just honey all over it. So you take those little Emsons and then you put the mushroom forest on top, and then you cover it with the charred eggplant dip, and you munch away. It was really heavenly, I have to say.
See, that's one of those ways where I could eat mushrooms.
Yes, totally.
Yeah,
because those enoki
and I've
mushrooms,
had those little tiny ones you're describing. Yeah, I don't mind those enoki ones somehow.
Yeah, and they don't particularly have a whole lot of mushroomy flavor, but all the other ones that were in the little pate at the bottom were really just super earthy and yummy.
Yeah.
How about you? What did you eat?
I had a bunch of beans in various forms.
That sounds suspicious.
It really does. But it was one of those leftover nights, and I had in my fridge this black bean dip that I make. So it was sort of a black bean hummus-y type thing, but it had a little bit of a chili base to it. And then I also had refried beans that I had also made. They're not refried. They were Instant Pot refried beans, so they were super healthy. And they were delicious. And a different flavor profile, different kind of beans. They're pinto beans. So basically what I had was 2 different kinds of leftover beans.
Nice. All right. Tasty.
Yeah, they were delicious.
Protein.
Yeah, they're both awesome. And they seemed like completely different things, which is fun.
Nice. It covers a lot of buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of You Won't Believe What I Ate Last Night. I am Rick Fiore.
And I'm Kate DeVore.
And this is our ongoing conversation about food, health, weight management, and our endeavor to be and stay healthy in our really tasty world.
With love, kindness, and compassion towards ourselves and others. Before we get to our fabulous show today, we have a request, and that is to ask you either right now to pause this, or as soon as you're finished, to just look down at your phone or wherever you're watching or listening to us and rate and review us on iTunes. Please give us a 5-star rating, give us a review, and in addition, feel free to follow us on our various social media outlets, which is Instagram and Facebook, and our website, youwon'tbelievewhatIate.com.
Brilliant, yes. Well, today we are talking probably about one of our favorite things, chocolates.
Chocolate!
What's your favorite chocolate, Kate? Light, dark, milk?
That's like asking what my favorite animal is. I can't choose.
I'm going to make you choose. It's Sophie's choice right here.
Oh, my God. Well,
all right, you're
globally...
going to an island. You can only bring one type with you.
Now, is it a type or is it a brand?
Let's start with type.
Well, globally, I would say probably dark chocolate because it's probably healthier and a little bit more satisfying, and I don't feel the need to eat quite as much of it.
Damn you.
What?
Making the smart, sensible choice.
Right, but if we're talking about brand, it's Cadbury's milk chocolate specifically from England, not the kind we get in the States.
Ooh, nice. All right. I'll take
I think.
that.
Or if it's going to be mixed with anything else, then that brings in a whole nother thing. Can I get orange chocolate? Can I get mint chocolate?
I love the orange chocolate, yeah.
Orange chocolate is so good.
Mint chocolate goes a long way.
Mm-hmm. And what about you?
So I would definitely do sort of the Milk chocolate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I only can eat a little bit of the dark chocolate for the reasons that you said. And I don't like it.
Fair enough.
Thank you. Now, favorite brand, that's a great question. I have not prepped that, Kate. You've really caught me off guard. But my go-to is always, this is so terrible. This isn't like a real chocolate. My go-to is a Kit Kat. Mm-hmm. And peanut M&Ms, which isn't really chocolate. Wow, that's a tough one.
No, I would describe those as chocolate E.
Yeah, chocolate-y.
Yeah.
All right, people, I'm going to have to get back to you.
Like a cheese product. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we're talking about chocolate because, as you know, Halloween is coming up. And Halloween is one of the very many holidays in which, in America, we seem to love chocolate. So here's an interesting thing, Kate. Halloween last year, it was $7.4 billion that was spent on Halloween paraphernalia, and that's primarily chocolate.
Wow.
That includes everything, but most of it is chocolate. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's fascinating.
This doesn't really deal with chocolate, but it does deal with Halloween candy, which I thought you would find interesting. 2 polls last year revealed that candy corn is the great American divider. 49% said the Halloween staple is tasty, while 23% said it's gross and 21% said they don't like it, but it's an important part of Halloween. In fact, candy corn is more divisive than our current president's tweeting habits. Now, you might ask, isn't that rich? And I was like, why is this stat being put together? And then I dug a little bit farther. It's because our current president is really a terrible color of orange, as is candy corn.
That is funny. I did just see some picture of his inauguration or something this week, and I literally, in my question, the fully formed question came up, why is he orange? Like, compared to everybody else. Yeah, so there we go.
I think it's generally a good question.
Yeah.
We have 2 other holidays where we really consume chocolate. The one is obviously Easter. Do you have any idea how many chocolate Easter bunnies are made each year for Easter?
I do not.
90 million.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we love ourselves some chocolate.
Wow.
And then Valentine's Day is the other one. 58 million pounds of chocolate purchased during the week of Valentine's. 36 million, that's the number of heart-shaped boxes of chocolate purchased for Valentine's.
Wow. That is impressive.
Here's some other fun facts that I found. The Reese's and Reese's Peanut Butter Cups is Harry Burnett Reese, a former Hershey employee who created his famous candy in 1920. I love me some Reese's. And I did not know this, but the M&M in M&M stands for Mars and Murray. It was Forrest Mars Sr. and Bruce Murray who launched the candy.
I remembered that one of the M's was Mars because it was Mars Company, but I did not remember Murray at all.
Oh, right. Of course, Mars Company. Totally.
Yeah.
And do you know how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop cake?
A 1, a 2, a 3. A 3.
Crunch.
Is there a different answer than that?
According to a licking machine designed by engineering students at Purdue.
Wait a minute now.
We need. What was that?
I wanted to go back.
Oh, sorry.
To the licking machine. Designed by who now?
Students at Purdue University.
Okay.
It takes 364 licks to get to the center.
I see. Okay. All right. Well,
And final one here, Milky Way bars were not named after their home galaxy. The name came from a type of malted milkshake that was popular in the early 1920s.
I bet it was delicious.
I know, right?
Why don't we still have that? That sounds delicious. It would probably have chocolate and caramel. That sounds yummy. And malt.
They take all good things from us.
This is why we can't have nice things. Yeah, so apparently the big candy holidays have always been associated with candy. So Christmas is another one. There's always been a lot of chocolate and candies around Christmas. And apparently Washington's birthday used to be a big candy thing where they would celebrate with marzipan cherries and cocoa dusted logs.
Really?
Yeah. And
Fascinating.
And all of these have been the candy industry. So Halloween candies was a combination of the candy industry trying to come up with a holiday in the fall where they could have more candy. And then also trick-or-treating started happening. And so candy and trick-or-treating was sort of a match made in heaven. And so there we go.
Interesting. All right. Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, that's going to bring us to our history of chocolate. And boy, is it a varied history.
Yeah, like so many things that have been around for a long time.
Well, you sort of, it's what's so great about these episodes is I'm like, oh, I didn't know how long chocolate had been around for and what its uses had been. I'm always blown away by that because I'm like, oh, it's just in my lifetime because everything revolves around me.
Right. So cacao dates back to, as far as we know, 1000 BC at least. That's a long time.
It's a long time.
And
where do they say it go ahead.
Well, and the Mayans were drinking it and using it ceremonially in 400 AD. Mm-hmm. What were you about to ask?
I was going to ask you what part of the world it came from, because whenever in all my research, they always called it Mesoamerica. And I'm always amazed, which is generally refers to sort of Central America and a little bit of top of South America.
Yeah. And it came to Europe from the Aztecs. Mm-hmm. So in the 1600s, I guess, right? The Spanish folks, the Aztecs.
Yeah, it was Hernan Cortez from Spain. He traveled to Mesoamerica, or this Mexico, the Central America place. And the big king, what was his name? Montezuma, I think is his one. He brought out all of this chocolate to taste. The guy loved it. He brought it back with him to Spain. And that's really how it got to Europe.
Yeah, and wasn't there something about how it didn't really catch on until it made it into the court, and the royalty was like, "This is great." And then
yes, and it also reminds me of these things that happens with like royalty and rich people. Whenever they get something really good, they always want to make this association where they say, "Oh, it's a gift from the gods, and we have to keep it from the little people."
That's right, and the fact that we have it proves that we have divine right.
Exactly. It's always good when you can support your own story.
Exactly, with something from nature.
Exactly. It's also grown, all this is always, the seeds are actually grown along the equator, right?
I think, yeah.
And they always say that it's grown along the equator, and generally 20 degrees north and 20 degrees south of the equator line is generally where these trees that grow the beans can exist.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
By the 20th century is when chocolate was no longer a luxury, and it was accessible and affordable to everyone, because in 1828 they invented the cocoa press. And it was invented by Conrad van Helten.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, thank God for Conrad van Helten, because if he hadn't invented that, I wouldn't be having chocolate.
Totally. I was going to say the 19th century is where I think it became more accessible, because that's where we had Fry's as the first chocolate bar in England. Ooh. And Nestle, Cadbury, and Hershey all came on the scene and started making chocolate in the 1800s.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I think it came from not only the cocoa press, but also the processing of Dutching cocoa. Is that
really?
That's not the same thing, is it? It was
I
also
have not heard of Dutching.
Okay, it was also a Dutch thing. I mean, yeah, it was a Dutch person, but I didn't write down the name of who it was. But you'll actually still see today in recipes and on cocoa boxes, it'll either say Dutched or non-Dutched cocoa. And Dutching is the term for it going through some process, which I frankly don't remember what the process is, but it's Dutching. Reduces bitterness, but apparently also decreases the antioxidants.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
And then also milk chocolate and chocolate bars also came around in the 1800s there.
Okay. Hey, here's something I've been meaning to ask you. Mm-hmm. What do you call a chocolate-covered sheep?
I'm truly trying to think of the answer. I don't know.
A candy bar.
I like that
one. Okay. I worked hard to make sure it was one you'd like.
Yay. That was fun. Thank you.
This is why we get paid the big bucks, people.
That's right. And Janice didn't even help with that one, I'm sure.
No, she's in a chocolate coma.
From all the research.
Exactly. Damn it.
Yeah. So some other things that go into the process of creating chocolate is something called, I believe, conching. Did you encounter this word?
No, I didn't.
CONCHING. And it's a machine that essentially pulverizes the chocolate paste. And the longer something is conched, the smoother the chocolate is. So like your cheap chocolate that doesn't have that creamy, smooth mouthfeel is maybe only conched for a few hours, and the others might be as much as 72 hours that it's going through, because cocoa nibs are hard, and so yeah, they need to be smoothed out. So that's one of the things that I learned. And then the other one, I'd heard this before, but only in regard to home cooking, which is tempering, which uses heat and basically smushing to get the desired crystal sizes for various textures of chocolate.
Oh, interesting.
Which made me think of, how if you go like down to the beach or something in a fudge place, you'll see the fudge people on a marble slab working the chocolate, and they're like rolling it out and bringing it back and rolling it out and bringing it back. That's tempering. So that is creating.
Oh,
yeah,
that's so interesting. That's so great to know that I'm so familiar with something.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's real life knowledge, Rick. Real life knowledge we offer.
Because you see, we are divinely inspired.
That's right.
With the knowledge.
We have chocolate. That's how we know.
We were able to bring it to the masses.
That's right. And then do you know what the name is when chocolate gets those white patches on it, or, whitish spots, or that white covering?
No.
Do you even know what I'm talking about? Have you ever
No.
seen that? Oh, yeah. I bet most people listening, if you've had a lot of chocolate around, you'll know it can get a white thing, and it's called a bloom. And it's usually from either poorly tempered chocolate or poorly stored chocolate. And it's an indication that the sugar and or fat has separated. And the important part here is that it's non-toxic and it doesn't affect the taste, and you can totally just eat it anyway. So if you have chocolate that you find that looks old or something, if it has like a white covering to it, whitish on top, you can still eat it and it probably won't be noticeable.
Okay, good to know. I actually do know what you're talking about now. Yeah, I have experienced that before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that doesn't happen to M&Ms, Kate. I'll just have you know.
It does not. It does not. They're protected. The ideal storage temperature is 59 to 63 degrees.
Really? All right.
So, what's the difference between milk chocolate and dark chocolate, Rick?
Color.
Caused by?
Taste.
Caused by? Milk.
Milk.
So, milk chocolate contains powdered or condensed milk, and in Europe has to contain 20 to 25% cocoa solids, which is the actual cocoa part. Dark chocolate doesn't have any milk. It's just fat and sugar with cocoa solids, and has to have a minimum of 30% cocoa solids in the European Union. And two types of dark chocolate are semi-sweet and bittersweet. So semi-sweet has more sugar, obviously, than bittersweet, has less sugar. And baking chocolate, as anybody knows who's tried to taste it, is entirely unsweetened and has no sugar in it at all, and you accommodate for that in your recipe.
That makes sense. I've never understood that about the baker's chocolate.
It's so you can control the sweetness.
I get you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like unsalted butter, I guess, right? You control your salt.
Right, totally.
White chocolate, first of all, can kiss my ass.
Why, Kate?
Because it's not chocolate. First of all.
What is it?
It does not contain any cocoa solids. It has cocoa butter in it. It has the fat that's the opposite of the chocolate in it. But it contains no cocoa solids. It's just like milky sweetness. It's usually got vanilla in it. It's got the cocoa butter and dairy and sugar. And legally is not considered chocolate because it doesn't have cocoa in it.
When you say legally, by who?
Certainly in Europe. I'm not sure about in the U.S. I thought it might have been the FDA as well, but I know that in Europe it is legally not called chocolate. Yeah.
Did you know? Hey, Kate, did you know that Benjamin Franklin sold chocolate in his print shop in Philadelphia?
No.
Did you know that worldwide 40 million to 50 million people depend upon cacao for their livelihood?
What? No. Wow.
Yeah, just this whole chocolate industry.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Did you know that Spanish royalty gave cakes of cacao in their dowries?
No.
Yeah, they actually used it as a form of payment because it was so valuable at the time. And did you know that the blood in Psycho's famous shower scene was actually chocolate syrup?
That I did know.
Did you know that the Aztec Emperor Montezuma was rumored to have had 50 cups of cacao a day from a golden chalice?
No.
Yeah, the Aztecs considered chocolate to be an aphrodisiac.
50.
I know, right? That's a lot.
I don't want 50 cups of anything a day. Yeah, I
Did you know that Amelia Earhart had a cup of chocolate during her record-setting flight over the Pacific from Hawaii to the U.S. mainland on January 11th, 1935?
Aw, I love the
Yes.
idea of her up there drinking chocolate.
Yes, agreed. Here's my favorite, did you know? Did you know at one point the Nazis plotted to assassinate Winston Churchill with an exploding bar of chocolate?
No, I thought you were going to say poisoned, exploding. His
I know, right?
bar more dramatic.
They say it gives a new meaning to the dessert name, Death by Chocolate. Adolf Hitler's bomb makers coated explosive devices with a thin layer of rich, dark chocolate, then packaged it in an expensive-looking black and gold paper. The Germans apparently planned to use secret agents working in Britain to discreetly place the bars, branded as Peter's Chocolates, among other luxury items taken into the dining room used by the war cabinet during the conflict.
Wow.
The lethal slabs of confection were packed with enough explosives to kill anyone within several meters, but the plot was foiled by British spies who discovered the chocolate was being made and tipped off one of MI5's most senior intelligence chiefs, Lord Victor Rothschild, before the wartime prime minister's life could be in danger.
Wow.
Right?
That's awesome. I mean, what a great story. That's so cool. But, I mean, it's not good that they tried to kill him. Right. But, it was war. I mean.
This gave a good story.
Yeah, that's pretty darn clever of them.
Isn't
I really
it?
wonder how that got tipped off, because that's a great idea.
Right. It really is.
I mean, talk about a Trojan horse, like a little Trojan chocolate bar. Yeah.
Yes, totally.
It's amazing.
So, Kate, why should we eat chocolate?
Well, they say, I actually forgot to look this up, but they say that it creates some kind of powerful endorphins relating to well-being.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of the things the nobility many, many years ago in Spain were touting. They called it a stimulant, and it provided something special, something extra. So I sort of think it is the same idea, that they just got a little bit of a hit from it, and they thought it was some weird power thing that they now had access to.
Yeah. Well, I love to drink choffee, which is, or Creo Brew is a different brand of it. It's roasted brewed cocoa beans. And so it's treated like coffee in that the cocoa beans are roasted and ground and brewed, but it's chocolate. It isn't coffee at all. It's not coffee beans, it's cocoa beans. So it's not sweet. It doesn't have any of that, doesn't have any sugar or anything in it. So it's a little bit bitter and it tastes like pure chocolate. And I do really feel like it does have some caffeine.
Right.
But it also has something called theobromine, which is a natural stimulant that's supposed to give you a boost, and antioxidants, and something called phenylethylamine, which supposedly helps you to produce serotonin. And it supposedly helps with weight loss and lean muscle mass growth. These are what the Choffee people say the benefits of drinking that beverage is, which is similar to what they would have drunk back in the day. I think it's less processed.
Agreed. Yeah, totally.
And it really does give me a boost. I really feel energized from it.
Yeah. I've never had any drink like that, really. The most I've come is hot chocolate. But I don't even think I've had hot chocolate with really good chocolate.
Have I never served you this Choffee stuff?
I don't think so, no.
Weird. Well, we'll rectify that next time you're here.
And when we're talking about what benefits does chocolate provide, I just want to be clear that we're not talking about what I brought up, which is like M&Ms and Kit Kats. We're talking about the high quality stuff, right? Actual sort of what people would call chocolate.
Well, and to take that a step further, some people say that it's not that at all. It's not even what we think of as chocolate. It's actually simply the raw cacao that has these benefits.
Really?
And then when it's made into chocolate, those benefits decrease And then you have to deal with the fat and the sugar and the other stuff as well. So it sort of negates it. So these
that
things,
makes
we
sense.
know for a fact that these things are true for raw cacao, I think, but I don't know if we know that they're true in a processed form.
Yeah, true.
And white chocolate would have none of them because it doesn't have the cacao in it, to be clear.
You have it out for the white chocolate.
It needs to just suck it. I wouldn't be mad at it if it didn't call itself chocolate. If it called itself something else, I would simply not care for it. But as it stands, I feel so much hatred to white chocolate because it's trying to pass itself off as chocolate, and it's not.
I get it. You're passionate, man. So, so there's this idea that dark chocolate particularly is also loaded with organic compounds that are active and function as antioxidants. There are a whole lot. They include a whole lot of things that I can't pronounce. And one study showed that cocoa and dark chocolate had more antioxidant activity than other fruits that were tested, including blueberries.
Yeah.
And which is so funny is because I get the blueberry has antioxidants, but it probably doesn't have all those other bad sugars and fats that comes with, how we eat our cacao, which is in a chocolate bar.
Yeah. And the thing I read was like some amount of chocolate had as much antioxidants as a cup and a half of blueberries, but it was like 100 grams of chocolate, which is like 600 calories worth of chocolate. So it's not really a fair comparison because a cup and a half of blueberries is what, like 90, 100 calories
totally.
or something. Yeah, exactly. And interestingly, research shows that apparently that dairy inhibits the absorption of the antioxidants from raw cacao.
Really?
So milk chocolate negates any of the benefit.
How would that be with white chocolate?
Rick.
Kate. Okay. Controlled studies showed that cacao and dark chocolate can improve blood flow and lower blood pressure, though the effects are usually mild. They say the flavonols in dark chocolate can stimulate the lining of the arteries to produce nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is it tends to signal the arteries to relax, and which it lowers pressure. So I thought that was interesting. So I thought I better start eating more of this chocolate.
Yeah. Is that what you're taking away from this? More
Oh,
chocolate?
definitely. Listen, Kate, I know how to take it and use it.
Yeah. So raw cacao apparently also lowers insulin resistance and protects your nervous system because of the resveratrol, which is one of the potent antioxidants. Shields nerve cells from damage, reduces your risk of stroke, reduces blood pressure, reduces cardiovascular disease risk, as we just talked about, guards against toxins, boosts your mood, rich in minerals, magnesium, iron, potassium, calcium, zinc, copper, and manganese.
So, Kate, what type of chocolate eater are you? Because, when I really struggle with eating chocolate, I always eat the whole thing no matter what I'm eating. And then, there is that thing that came out, that's everyone pushing years ago. Oh, just have a little candy bar, right, in the freezer that you can break off. And you just go and get a little bit of it. And if it's good chocolate, like the dark chocolate, it'll totally satisfy the craving. And so what I find is I've tried that. And I do go to the freezer and just get a little square corner, eat it. But then I just keep doing that repeatedly.
Yeah, you go back to the freezer. Yeah. Yeah. The healthiest chocolate should be 70% or higher cocoa. Like that's what you should look for on the label for the healthiest. And Trader Joe's has a 70% cocoa bar that's really delicious, and they're small, and they come at the cash register, and there's a little package of 3, and it's really reasonably priced. And I can eat like half of one of those bars quite often and be done. The only thing I've found where I can really leave it is another Trader Joe's product, which is dark chocolate covered cacao nibs.
Oh, wow.
And it's a little bit bitter. It doesn't have any dairy in it, I don't think. It certainly has sugar, but it's certainly on the bitter side. And I find that I can have like a tablespoon or 2 of those, and that's enough because it's not so delicious. It's not quite as delicious as the other, but it still satisfies a chocolate craving. So that's that's the safest chocolate for me to have in the house that I can actually have like 1 serving of and put it back.
Safe is the right word. Because I really try, but I always generally fail when it comes to chocolate. I just love it so much.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I don't generally keep in the house, and I'm really good about not keeping it in the house. Like if I want it, I have to go out and buy it.
Yeah, generally that's the same too. We want to try to buy fair trade chocolate, right?
Yeah, there's fair trade, and then there's also this other thing called direct trade. So fair trade is obviously this organization that was set up that would help ensure that everyone associated in the line of producing your item is well paid. And then there's this other idea called direct trade, which means that someone that buys the coffee or is producing the chocolate, they actually have a direct relationship with like the person supplying the chocolate. There's not as many middlemen. So both of these are great things to look for when buying your chocolate. Because, I was going to do this section called the not so sweet side of chocolate, which really just talked about, all the terrible things out there about how we get our chocolate and what it costs, and that it actually involves human trafficking, particularly of children in Africa. And they're used to work, obviously in a terrible, terrible way on all these cacao farms to bring us our chocolate. So that being said, you can find out about that on obviously the old internet, but there's this really great video called out on YouTube. I think it's called The Dark Side of Chocolate. It's a YouTube video that was put out about 5 years ago, and it really talks about the whole dark side of how we get our chocolate. It had been linked up there for years to the whole diamond trade business, about all the people that suffer in the diamond mines to bring us our diamonds. So check it out. But when you buy your chocolate, definitely look for fair trade, direct trade. I think that's really the best you're going to do to help the situation.
Yeah. Thank you. A couple of brands that I saw that are supposed to be, and I can't vouch for this, but this was from something I read, an article about that the couple brands, one is called Alter Eco or Eco, probably Eco because of the pun, Alter Eco. And then Pascha, Pascha, one called Antidote, and one called Equal Exchange. So those are apparently brands that make a point of not being inhumane in the processing. Cool.
Oh, hold on for a second, Kate. Oh, hi, Janice. Oh, not again. Another quiz for Kate? Okay.
Yay!
Janice really comes through sometimes. All right, Kate, here's your quiz. Are you
All
ready?
right, I'm ready.
How many pieces of Halloween candy can a standard pillowcase hold? A, 1,450. Wow. B, 1,690. C, 1,825.
So I assume we're talking about the fun size pieces.
I'm thinking, yeah. That was my bet. 1450, 1690, 1825.
1690.
Very good. Ding, ding, ding,
Yay!
ding, ding. Good one.
Thank you.
That was so interesting to know.
Thank you.
All right, here's your second question.
Okay.
The inventor of the chocolate chip cookie recipe sold the recipe to Nestle in 1939. How much was the inventor paid for the recipe? A, $750. B, $2,500. C, $1 and free chocolate for life.
What was the date?
1939.
C.
Very good.
No, that's so
$1
sad.
free chocolate for life. Oh, and you'll appreciate this, Kate. It was a woman, so I'm sure she got a good deal.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was a woman, and she got the most screwed over, so it had to be C.
Ruth Wakefield, she came up with the recipe, and she sold her cookie recipe to Nestle in exchange for a lifetime of supply of chocolate and $1. She ran a popular restaurant called Toll House Restaurant in Whitman, Massachusetts.
Wow.
And the recipe made its first appearance in print in the 1938 edition of her book called Tried and True. And it was obviously created as an accompaniment to ice cream. And it became so celebrated. And then she sold it. She gave Nestle the right to use her cookie recipe and the Toll House name.
Yes.
And they said this is a bargain. It's a bargain that rivals Peter Menu's purchase of Manhattan. The price was for $1. $1 that Wakefield later said she never received, though she was reportedly given free chocolate for life and was also paid by Nestle to work as a consultant.
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah. And going back to that whole Manhattan thing I said, so this is the other interesting fact I found. That guy, Peter Menu, he apparently, from the Native Americans, bought the land of Manhattan for $1.
Did you hear that they are rewriting the history textbooks now to say that the Native Americans voluntarily relocated to other parts of the country and are erasing the Trail of Tears? Just as a sidebar to that.
I did, Kate.
Wow. Remarkable.
Yeah. Sidebar.
Right. Yeah, sidebar. All right.
Okay.
Milk
All right, here's your
chocolate.
next question,
Oh, I
Kate.
forgot. We're in the middle of a quiz. Oh, my God.
I know,
Yes.
right? We got so distracted. All right, your third question.
Yes.
In 2010, the world's largest chocolate bunny was constructed. How large was it?
Wow.
A is 12 feet, 5 inches. B, 15 feet. C, 17 feet, 6 inches.
A.
Oh my God! Ding, 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 ding.
Yay!
The world's largest chocolate bunny was constructed by South African artist Harry Johnson in 2010 and weighed in, are you ready?
Yes.
At more than 3 tons.
Wow.
I'd love to know what would happen when he was done with the exhibition. Did people just pounce on it?
I know. Was it really edible at that point?
Yeah, valid question.
Had it been outside? I mean,
Totally.
how solid was it? Was it empty? Like, I have questions.
All right, your final and fourth question.
All right.
The German chocolate cake was named in honor of A, a guy named Sam German, B, Germany, C, Germany's chancellor of 1939, Hermann Mueller.
I actually think it's A.
Oh my God, you made a clean sweep.
What do I get? Tell me it's chocolate.
You get a big old kiss.
I'll take it.
Yeah, Sam German was an Englishman, and he invented a style of sweet baking chocolate for the Baker's Chocolate Company, and they named it after him, and it was called German chocolate. It didn't become well known until 1957. This is what I love, is the recipe was so popular, sales of the German chocolate, the sales shot up 73% in 1 year. Newspapers across the country reprinted the recipe, but somewhere along the way, German's chocolate cake lost its apostrophes, leaving Germany holding the credit for a classic American dessert.
Cool. Well, that was fun. Thank you.
Good. Oh, here's something else I've been meaning to ask you, Kate. What do you call stolen cocoa?
I don't know.
Hot chocolate.
All right. Okay, not terrible.
Thank you. Yes.
Pretty good.
All right.
All right. Well, we hope this has inspired you to eat healthy small quantities of fair trade,
Direct trade.
dark chocolate only, or raw cacao.
With that, go forth. Remember, rate and review. Thanks for listening.
Great review. Thanks. Bye.